Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. We'll be getting started in about 2 minutes. We're going to be making sure that everyone has a chance to come into the webinar. So once it starts, once it hits 1, we'll get started. All right, let's get started. So, hi, welcome to Red Hawks. Thank you for joining us on Zoom. This is Student Employment. I'm your host. My name is Allison Perez. I'm the Graduate Coordinator for Family Orientation Programs here in the Office of Student Belonging. On today's webinars, we'll be joined by a few presenters who will introduce shortly. But first, we'd like to hear from you in the chat. So, no need to worry about having your camera or your microphone on, but please let us know if you're here by dropping your name and where you're joining us from. The next thing we want to direct your attention to is the Q&A feature, which you can ask our team questions and make sure that you can get an answer from either one of us or the presenters themselves. Please note, if you have a question, it might have already been addressed in the presentation itself, and we will hold a brief live Q&A after the presenter is done with the presentation. The presentation is being recorded and will be shared early next week. Thank you for your attention, and let's get started. We're going to kick things off with our presentation from our friends Crystal Tejeda Bretion from the Office of Experimental Education and Career Connections, and Jai Johnson from the Office of Student Financial Aid. Crystal is a higher education professional with a focus in employer relations, student engagement, and equity-centered career development. She currently serves as an employment relations specialist at Montclair State University, where she builds and maintains partnerships with all employers to expand job, internships, and experimental learning opportunities for students. Crystal also supports development of student employment initiatives that enhance on-campus job experience as high-impact learning opportunities. Crystal is also a alumni from Montclair State University, earning her BA in psychology and her MA in social research and analysis. Jalen Johnson is also a financial aid counselor and federal work study coordinator for Montclair State University and Bluefield College of Montclair State University. With over 16 years of experience in higher education, she's dedicated to help her career for supporting students' success through financial aid counseling, student employment programs, and enrollment services. She holds a master's degree in higher education administration and is currently pursuing a doctorate in organizational leadership at Cordova University. Her passion for student development and educational access continues to drive her commitment to helping students achieve their academic and professional goals. And I'll let them start presenting. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So like Allison said, I am Crystal. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. This is going to be a general info session on on-campus student employment, and we're also going to touch on federal work study, all regulations, rules, how to go about it, how to know if you're eligible, funding details. Then I'll go into student employment, what that looks like in terms of applying, what that looks like in terms of succeeding, and all of that. And then, like they said, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, and we'll answer them either live or we'll answer them at the end. And so we're gonna have Jay present first.
Hello, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Hopefully, if you guys can just put
Yep,
it in the
we can hear
chat.
you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so today we are going to go over student employment versus federal work study program rules. We're also going to touch on payroll, timekeeping, and compliance, federal work study funding, determination process, expectations and performance, and also professional development.
I just want to know this, we didn't update this. So it's a little bit, some of these things we're not going to talk about. It's just a general info session on what it looks like to have federal work study funding and then and to the job search of on-campus employment. Sorry, Jay.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so the purpose of student employment is to one, gain early career experience in a campus or community-based setting. Two, to help students develop time management and workplace skills. Three, to encourage personal growth and resume building experiences. And then four, to treat student workers with respect as contributors to the team. So, under the student employment program, there are two types of student employment. We first have the federal work study program. It is the federal supported employment program for students who are eligible based on their FAFSA. And then we have also a student assistant. It's a university employment program. It is a financial need that is not required for participation. So both of these programs are on a first come, first served basis. But what I will say is that if for any reason your child or children are not eligible for federal work study, that does not mean that they are not eligible to work on campus. They can still find a job on campus under the student assistance program. So, what is federal work study? As I stated before, federal work study is a federal funded part time employment program designated to assist students with educational costs while in college. I want to add that if a student is under the federal work study program, that student can use those funds any way they want to, whether it's to pay their cell phone bill, whether it's to pay their car insurance, or just simply go get some food at Chick-fil-A. Okay. So student eligibility, a student must have completed a FAFSA on file. Right now, we are about to enter into the 2026, 2027 aid year. So I would have hope that all of the families on here, your children, would have completed the FAFSA. Also, all verification documents must be completed. If you have any questions about this, you can ask your children to log into the Nest portal to see if they have any outstanding documents required. If there is nothing there, then most likely they do not have any verification documents that is required at this time. Also, they must demonstrate financial need. Okay. And then lastly, they must meet SAP. And SAP is basically satisfactory academic progress, which means you have to at least have a 2.0, which is the university's GPA for entering the college and to be eligible for the work study program. So this is just a couple of federal and institutional rules that I felt that was handy. So students cannot work during class time, okay, under any circumstances unless their classes are canceled. And at that point, a student must submit proof. So I don't want any parents to think that their students will be working during class time. It is completely prohibited. Also, federal work study students are not allowed to work remotely. Due to compliance issues, we cannot have students working remotely. All job functions must be performed on campus. Okay. And this is more institutional. A federal work study coordinator, which is myself, can terminate a student if the student exceeds their federal work study earnings. And we'll briefly talk about that in the next few slides. Also, if a student drops below the minimum required credit load, and if a student fails SAT, they cannot work. And also, a student can be terminated due to performance if they are not performing well at the job. Although it is part-time, we believe that this is kind of giving them the tools that they need before they really enter into their big boy or big girl jobs. So let's talk funding. So the way that funding works is once a federal allocation is finalized, eligible students are packaged with what's called EWS. Okay. If you look at your college financial plan, some students may see CWS and some students may not see CWS. The CWS is basically a placeholder and banner where students can see if they actually qualify for the federal work study program. Once a student is hired, meaning they actually looked for a job, they went through the interview process, they were hired by the hiring manager, and they've completed the paperwork, the funds are transferred from CWS, which is campus work study, to FWS, which is federal work study. I hope that makes sense. So right now, the current minimum wage for the state of New Jersey is $15.92. This is what we base how much a student can earn per hour. Okay. For the 2026-2027 8 year, the allocation amount for eligible students will be $3,750. Okay. And that has to basically cover them for approximately 26 weeks of pay, but and they will be able to work between 8 to 10 hours per week. I know it's not a lot, but it is something for them to just put in their pocket. And next, I'll turn it over to Crystal.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. So that was a overview of federal work study funding. Like Jay mentioned, there are, even if you do not qualify or aren't eligible for federal work study funding, you can still apply for on-campus positions for departmental funding. So I'm going to go over what the on-campus job search looks like, starting with Handshake. So if you haven't already heard of Handshake, Handshake is the platform to search for jobs on campus as well as off campus. So it's a great resource to have already handy and already set up. There are a lot of things to do in Handshake, and I'll go over that in a bit. I'll walk you through what it looks like and all the fun things that you can do on there that are super helpful. So if you already have if your student already has their university email address, they can already register for Handshake. I included a QR code there. There's also a link, but if you go on the Montclair webpage and you look up Handshake, there's a student login and they can just log into there. It'll walk them through the step by step on registering for their student account. The most important thing here is to include the student's CWID. That way, every account needs to be approved by our team. And if we see the CWID, we can confirm that they are a Montclair State student, and then we can go ahead and process their approval. If they don't have a CWID, that can delay their account approval. We would have to email them and ask them for it. And then, by the time we do that back and forth, it could be about a week instead of, right away. So that's the most important thing on this slide. Everything else, the Handshake login page really walks you through a step-by-step of everything that you need. A CWID is the student ID number. It's usually, I think it's about I think it's 7 to 8 numbers. You should get that once the student gets that once they confirm their enrollment to Montclair State University, submit their deposit, do everything that they need to do. They will get an email with all that information, their email, their Montclair State email, their CWID, all of that. And that's provided by the registrar's office. So once you have an account on Handshake, you will be able to find on-campus jobs, off-campus jobs. If you want to have a meeting with a career advisor regarding your internship, regarding your resume, regarding any interviewing skills, Handshake is where you can do all of that. So I put a step by step here, all the things that you need to do. So like in the main page, click jobs, filters on campus, and how to set notifications. But I'm also going to walk you through really quickly so you can see everything that's available to you through Handshake. Oh, it's sign me out. Sorry. Okay. So once you log in, once you get access to Handshake, this is what you'll see when you log in, once, just log in and everything. So there's a lot of resources on here, like I mentioned. There's jobs, there's an inbox you can email employers, employers can email you. All employers that are on Handshake were approved by all the Career Center offices. So you don't have to worry about, oh, is it a scam? Is it not? There are regulations and guidelines put in place to get rid of all those, the scams, the multi-level marketing, if you have to pay upfront, like any upfront cost. We have guidelines set in place to avoid any of those employers coming onto Handshake, so you don't have to worry about that. So we have a bunch of resources here. So right up here, you can view all the resources on Handshake. So appointments, if you want to set time to meet with your career advisor, you can meet with them about anything. If you have an internship requirement for your course, you can meet with them to help you with that search. You can meet with them to help you with the course requirements. You need to register for a course. You need anything that you need for that. They can help you with that. They can also help you with having mock interviews. If you have an interview coming up and you really need help, you've never had an interview before, they're always happy to meet with you and go through some general questions, how to best answer them, and how to really showcase your skills in the best way possible. So career advisors, we always advise students to see their career advisor at least once a semester, just because you never know what you might learn from them, especially in the beginning. You kind of get in a groove of, well, okay, here's all the things that I need to learn in each place that I go to. Um, Career advisors our university is decentralized. So every college has their own career center. So for example, the School of Business, so if you're a business major, if you're economics major, you will go to the Business School Career Service. They have all their own career advisors. You can see anybody from that specific career advising school. And if you like someone, you can just continue seeing that same person. But every college has their own, depending on the student's major. So the psychology majors have their career advising counselor with the College for Humanities and Social Science, and so on and so forth. A great thing is when you click on appointments, it'll tell you yeah, so you just put here which college you're in. So say you are a data analytics major, you would just click here and it'll show you the different, well, it won't show me here because I'm not a student, but it'll show you here all the different types of things that you can request an appointment for. And you just choose one, pick a time, and then you'll get a confirmation email. If you're undeclared, there is the Discovery program, and they also, is it here? Yes. So University College was previously, the Discovery program was previously University College. That will be where your advisor is. There is a team of career advisor, academic advisors in that program that are specific for students who are undeclared. Okay. Resources you can read more about. These are from our the CHSS team. They post things on here themselves that would help you. Resources, how to prepare for different types of events like graduate applications, using skillfully, using big interviews. So there's a lot of good reads here. Definitely take advantage of those. Experiences, once you put in what type of experiences you've had before. So, say you were a barista at Starbucks, you put that on here, they'll review it. The career centers will review it. And they can also assist you in phrasing it as a transferable skills, so like those communication skills, those customer service skills, they can help you reframe that so that you can present it as transferable skills when you apply in the future. There's also surveys that you can answer questions from your career center. So some of them want to know what other workshops you want to see. Did you attend the fair? How did you feel about the fair? You can see all those surveys there. And then collections are great. You can go in there and see different types of jobs for different types of interest, different skill sets, different career paths, different industries. So collections are really great. And then you'll see all the career centers here. So this is a great thing to click around, look at everything that's on here. So for on-campus jobs, so you go to jobs here on the left-hand side. And like I said, you'll be able to see off-campus employers as well, and you can always apply through here directly. Some employers have an apply externally position link, so you can do that. But for on-campus jobs, you can do it one of two ways. So like I mentioned earlier, the collections. So you can go here on Montclair collections, and this is where you're able to see all the collections that we have. These were all curated by Montclair State University Career Service staff members. So based off of interest, based off of requests. So if you're interested in advertising, marketing, PR, and social media, we've put a bunch of employers who have positions for that industry, for those skill sets and everything. But for this one, you can scroll down on campus employers. You can also just type it here on campus. So you go on here, you click on campus employers, and it'll show you all the positions for on campus employers. The other way to do it is to go to filters, and then under job type, you would go and click on campus student employment, and it'll show you the same list. So those are the two ways you can look at on-campus employment. If you see a job that you like and you want to come back to it, you want to prepare your resume, you want to get some tips, you want to see if you know anybody in the department, you can always save the jobs here and you'll see them here under your saved. And you'll be able to click apply. Where do you go? Okay. The last thing I wanted to show is the on-campus jobs, they're very high in demand, both from the employer and from the students. Every student wants an on-campus job, and a lot of departments are constantly in need of students. So it's a good idea to set up job alerts for for the specific filter. So you can just click here, and every time a new on-campus position shows up, you'll get an alert. So it's recommended that you check these frequently. If you see something that you really like, that you've been waiting for, go ahead and apply for it. Visit your career center, ask them to review your resume, ask them for interviewing tips. Always rely on your career service centers. So that is for here. Also, if you wanna, it's also recommended that you complete your profile so that you have all your information on here. This is like a second LinkedIn. Employers look at student profiles on here as well, on campus as well as off campus employers. They look at your profile. So if you have all your skills in one place, they'll be able to see it, all your experiences, what classes you're taking, all of that. We highly recommend you to complete your profile so that employers are able to see everything about you when they click on your profile. I didn't complete mine. I'm a bad example. Sorry. But you should complete yours. Your students should complete them. Okay. So, we want to make sure that we encourage students to apply with purpose. Like I said, there's a lot of interest in applying for an on-campus job. But so a lot of students are applying to multiple jobs. Everything comes up and they're just like apply, 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 apply. They don't, edit their resume to fit the job that they're applying for. So it doesn't even look like it's related. That's where, transferable skills come in. We really want to embed the transferable skills mindset. So everything that you do is transferable. If you're a barista, you can still do, be a receptionist or be a front desk assistant. It's all transferable. So we want to make sure we're encouraging students to apply with purpose, knowing their goals, what skills do they want to build, what are their strengths, what are opportunities that they see themselves, that they see in themselves, what do they want to work on? Are they strong? Leaders, but they really need to work on maybe some teamwork. They can lead a team, but then they can't really work on that teamwork, right? Or the other way around, they're great at teamwork, but they're not really good leaders. Is that something that they want to work on? Reading the job description gives you a good idea of what that job would teach you. Our team has been working on creating a more centralized process for job applications. So we encourage all the employers to add learning outcomes to the job description. What is the student going to learn out of this? What are the NACE competencies that they're going to learn from this position? NACE is a National Association for Colleges and Employers. We get a lot of our information, a lot of our data, a lot of our design from them. They work closely with colleges and employers, bridging that connection between the two. What do employers want to see, and how can colleges and universities provide that to the students so that they are ready for the workforce? They came up with 8 competencies that employers look for across the board. A couple of them are here: communication, leadership, teamwork. There's technology, there's and career self development and career development, um, amongst others. So we really want to encourage them to look out for those competencies. What are they going to learn? What are they missing from their resume? And what do they want to learn? What are their career goals? Do they want to go out and work in the corporate world? What do they need to enter that world? Do they want to go into the nonprofit? What do they need to enter that world? So really looking for that alignment and that balance between the two. And then lastly, being intentional, choosing the roles that are going to help you grow. Um, a lot of students are comfortable just doing one thing. They're big on technology, so they only want to do technology-based things. But we should encourage them to go, outside of their comfort zone, do something more, maybe public facing, answering the phones, answering emails, not just focusing on the one thing. Of course, we always want to encourage them to strengthen their strengths, but we also want them to broaden their horizons, make sure that they're experienced in multiple areas, um, just to open up their opportunities more. And reminding them that every job is a stepping stone, even if they think, oh, I'm just a front desk assistant, I'm not gonna really grow anywhere from here. We have student leaders who get, promoted and really given more support by their supervisors because they've shown initiative, because they've shown leadership. We have a lot of student workers who attend conferences with their supervisors, who are part of presentations and all sorts of opportunities. So every role should be taken seriously because you never know where that can take you. For interviewing skills, I wanted to include some tips that help students stand out. What are employers looking for? First, and this applies for on-campus roles as well as off-campus roles. Doing your homework, reading the role over and over again, seeing what is expected of you, but then also reading about the department. So if you're working with the student center, what are the student center's hours? What are the types of events that the student center holds? What are the different many departments within the student center. We have, the ballrooms, we have the cafeterias, we have like a bunch of different things within the student center. What does that look like? Um, these are all things that you can just search on the Montclair website. Um, and that way you have some information ready. You come up with questions that you can ask towards the end of your interview. Telling your story when you answer those interview questions using examples. I think it's a star example when you answer interview questions. So not when they ask you, tell me about a time you um, dealt with a difficult customer. Not just saying, oh yeah, they came in, they were upset. I gave them an email to contact someone else and they left and that was that. No, say, oh, they came in, they were really upset. I heard them out. I asked for more information so that I was well informed about their situation and I can give the best recommendation. Telling a story in your answers, making sure that you're saying how you help the situation, what you learned from the situation, and how you practice your skills in this specific situation. Dressing professionally, of course, first impressions matter, but they also matter once you have the job. Like I mentioned earlier, some students get, really great students get offered the opportunity to present at conferences and things like that. So it's always nice to just always have a suit ready, have a nice blazer, nice set of pants, and a nice shirt, a nice button-up shirt. We have the great program of Rocky's Closet. Rocky's Closet is a free service to all students. It's like a store, it's a clothing store. And students can go in and pick out things to wear for an interview. They can do it for like a conference, just because it doesn't even have to be an occasion. They can just go in and request something. Um, the there's two ways to reach out to Rocky's Closet. So if you search Rocky's Closet on Montclair, it'll give you their website, it'll give you their contact information. They've changed their method a little more. They used to have like open, but now you need to have an appointment to go in. So you would request an appointment for whatever time and date works best for you, and they'll reach out to you. The other way is Rocky's Closet does on-campus pop-up shops. So they come to like career fairs or sometime before the career fair, and they bring a couple of their inventory on the main campus because their Rocky's Closet is located on campus but off in one of the dorms. So they host pop-up shops on the main campus in the student center or university hall, where they bring some of their inventory for students to check out and take with them. So that's a great resource. And if for whatever reason there's something that you don't like or not your size, you can always ask them for additional resources. There's a lot of free closets like that in New Jersey that, sometimes universities have a partnership with, and you can ask them for additional resources for any other closets that may offer you free clothing or discounted clothing. Um, Showing up with energy, not bringing, if you had a bad commute, not bringing that into the workplace, not bringing that into your interview. And like I mentioned earlier, asking thoughtful questions. So once you do that research on what the role in the department um, entails, you can come up with questions like, oh, the student center has over 50 events. I don't even know how many they have. I'm sure they have a lot more, but over 50 events. Like, what would my role be in supporting these events? Um, what does success look like in my role, considering the expectation? So, I'm going to be in the front desk. What does success look like in the front desk? And lastly, a follow-up. So once the interview is complete, send a quick email. Hey, it was great meeting everybody today. Thank you for meeting with me. Find a connection that you guys, something that happened during the interview. So say you both were a part of Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. Say it was great meeting a fellow Boy Scout or a fellow Girl Scout. Bring something, make that connection. And then say, I think I would be a great addition to your team. I look forward to hearing from you. Short, sweet, even it makes a really a lasting impression on the employer. So once the student gets a job, then the next step, say you ace the interview, you ace everything. Now you have to obtain your I-9. Obtaining the I-9 is only done once you secure a position on campus. So once the employer reaches out to you and says, "Hey, we'd like to offer you the job. Here's your start date. Here's your pay. Here's this. Here's that," then your student would go in and obtain their I-9. The I-9 must be completed prior to the employee's start date, student employee's start date, or within 3 days, but no more than 90 days in advance. Students are also required to complete their tax documents on workday. So once they are onboarded, once they have their I-9, once they're on workday, which is what we use for um, tax purposes, any timekeeping, payroll, everything is on workday. They'll be able to complete all their tax documents on there, like the W-4, and any other tax elections, as well as their direct deposit. Step one to attaining the I-9, you need to schedule an appointment. There is a calendar link. Most on-campus employers should provide that link. If they don't, you can always go on the Montclair website and just look up I-9 appointment and it'll give you the link. And the student will need to select a date and time that is convenient for them to schedule that appointment because walk-ins are not accepted. So they would have to set up an appointment for that. Those appointments do fill up quick. So we recommend as soon as the student is hired that they set that appointment immediately. So prior to once they have their appointment scheduled, they need to complete section one of like an I-9 form online so that they can have that ready during when they go to their appointment. And it has to be completed with accuracy to prevent any delays. And the section one is just general information, date of birth, social security number, and all of that stuff. Next would be bringing in acceptable documents. So that's section two of the I-9 form, which is bringing proper documentation. I put a QR code here with the list of acceptable documents. I'm sure you can find that link anywhere. You have to bring in original copies. You cannot bring in original documents. You cannot bring copies or digital images or expired documents. Here's an example of what that page looks like. So it gives you really straightforward information. So you either need one thing from list A or two things from list B and C. So either one from A or one from B and C. So if they have their passport, that's perfectly fine. If they don't and only have, say, a driver's license, they would also need to bring in a security card with their driver's license. But if they have the passport, they don't need any of that. They could just come in with a passport. Any other questions on documentation should be directed to HR. Like I said, Montclair website has a lot of this information. If you look up I-9, there's a lot of information on there as well as contact information if you have any questions. So once the I-9 is completed, now the student will start the job. So how do you ensure that the student is continuously supporting their own development and career progress, making sure that they're developing skills, making sure that they're working on things as for example, like their resume, how to make sure that they're putting in those skills accurately in their resume, talking about their skills in a way that's, representative of the work that they're actually doing, talking about the way that they're doing their work in a way that's transferable. So if they're saying, yeah, like I said, I give the same example, but like a barista, yeah, I was just, serving drinks. No, let's say, I used my communication skills to um retrieve orders and things like that. Just really framing their skills in a way that's um, accurate for the job that they're applying for. But the university has a couple of um, resources available to students for free. So we have the Focus 2 assessment. Is in a self-assessment. You put in all your interests, your skills, things that you value in a job, in your career goal, and it'll give you ideas of things that you can excel at. So different career paths. It'll show you examples of what the career paths look like. Skillfully does a similar thing. They also identify your unique strengths through assessment. They show you those careers that align with your interests, your skills, and they offer even other types of assessments so you can learn a little more about yourself in terms of your career goals. Big Interview is fantastic for uploading resumes. You can also practice your mock interviews. You can um, feed it the job description that you're applying for, and it'll give you feedback to your resume. It'll say, okay, there's, communication skills requirement on the job description, but you don't have anything in your resume. So here's a recommendation on that. Handshake also now has that same feature, so you can always use Handshake as well to upload your resume and have it review it. Same thing with mock interviews. They can give you a list of practice questions um, for the job that you're looking at. So if you're looking at a job in the front desk, it'll ask you jobs specific to that position. And there's also extra activities such as video lessons, practice questions, and quizzes. Forge is fantastic. A lot of our business students use that the most, but it's for all majors, all career paths. It gives you job simulation. So if you're really interested in what it looks like to work at Bank of America, you can go in there and it'll give you a real job situation, and you can just do the job. It'll give you an experience of what it looks like to work at a company like that, tackling real projects that you would encounter if you're hired. They're all self-paced, so you'll be able to just do it at your own pace. It's not a real job, it's a simulation, but they're real world projects. And they'll also give you examples of what the best answer is, the best route to take for that specific project. But yeah, these are very important resources to keep in mind um, once the student, even before the student obtains a job, just across, along their entire college career, having these resources handy so that they're keeping their career development in mind. So in keeping their career development in mind, we have a large chunk of, we have about 13 career fairs a year. Um, these are the big ones for the fall. Um, so we have the part-time job fair, which is it will have both on-campus and off-campus employers present. So if the student wants to see what types of on-campus jobs are available, this is the place to be, September 16th in the Student Center ballrooms from 1 to 3 p.m. Um, like I said, there will be on-campus employers. All sorts of departments will be there, departments that you've never even heard of, probably. But you'll be able to learn more about what the department does, what type of positions are open in those departments. You'll be able to ask questions, you'll be able to network. And a lot of them have accounts on Handshake already. So if you apply beforehand, you can meet them here and say, hey, I applied for this position, just wanted to learn a little more. That's a great chance to open up that door for the student. And there'll also be off-campus employers that offer part-time positions. Most of them are local, so if students aren't able to get an on-campus jobs, there's a lot of employers there who will be local to Montclair State University that they can either, take a bus or take a cab there or whatever method of transportation. So there'll also be off-campus employers there. We also have the Accounting and Finance Career Fair. That one is held, I believe it's twice a year. The part-time job fair is also twice a year. We hold one in the fall and the spring. So in the spring, same thing. There'll also be on-campus employers there as well as off-campus employers. Um, so the Accounting and Finance Career Fair will have all employers who offer employment or internships for accounting and finance. So, for example, with KPMG, Prudential, all those employers will be there. That will be Thursday, September 24th in University Hall Conference Center. Um, our big fair is the Career and Internship Fair. That will be October 7th from 1 to 4 in the University Conference Center. We usually host anywhere between 50 and 70 employers, depending on whether it's the spring or the fall. We usually have more employers come in the fall. In the fall, we usually see over 70 employers, and they range um, from the corporate world, from the nonprofit sector, from the government sector as well. So all employers who are looking for full-time or in full-time employment or interns will be at this fair. So this is our big fair, also in the conference center. For any pre-law students, we have a law week that is going to be in October. There's going to be a lot of events that week for law students. It's going to be mentorship sessions, there's going to be panelists, there's going to be um, law school application workshops. There's going to be a lot of events that week. And one of them is going to be the law school day. So they're going to have a bunch of law schools come into campus, similar to a career fair, but it's law schools. They're going to come in and they're going to talk to students about what their law program looks like, what the application process looks like, what they look for in their law students. So this is a great place to be if even if you're interested in law, if you're not a pre-law major, if you're thinking about it, this is a place to go and get a better idea of what it looks like to go into law. That's in October 14th, also in the University Conference Center. And then the Community Health Expo. So this is a lot of the College for Humanities and Social Sciences are interested in things in community health or in the nonprofit sector or the government. This is where all those employers will be. There's going to be employers here from there's a lot of government employers that come here. So like local government and federal government. There's a lot of nonprofit, local nonprofit, nationwide nonprofits who come here for those events. There's also medical systems. So like Hackensack comes to that. Englewood Hospital goes to that. Hackensack Meridian Health, the Atlantic Health System, a lot of them come to these events. This is the place to be if you're interested in those fields. Fairs for healthcare. Yeah, so the Community Health Expo would be the one where you would see those. Um, but we do have them come to the big fairs every year. So, like I mentioned, Hackensack Meridian comes to all of our fairs every fall and spring. But the Community Health Expo would be the place if you want to look more geared towards Community Health Expo. The other ones that aren't here, we have other ones. I said we have, about 13 career fairs an academic year. So these are just some for the fall. We also have most career services have their own fairs. So the College for Education and Engaged Learning has their own career fairs as well. Um, for teachers, they have school districts come in and speak to the students about teaching programs. The College for Communication and Media also has their own. They have like news stations, they have like media, they have all those come in. And then there are different programs like the pre-law program who has theirs. The pre-med program also has I'm not 100% sure if they're going to have it this fall, but they did have a pre-med grad fair where they have they have universities with medical schools come into campus and do a similar thing to law school day. So be on the lookout for that. You can always, like I said, Montclair website. You can go and look for career fairs and you'll be able to see all the fairs that are going to be held for the semester. To register for these, Handshake. So like I said, you're gonna do everything on Handshake. You're gonna log in daily. So to register for these fairs, you would go on Handshake, look at the fairs. You're gonna see everything posted from career fairs to pre-fair workshops, how to prepare your resumes, how to, everything is gonna be on Handshake. So definitely go on Handshake and register for that. And lastly, resources. So if you have any additional questions, here are some resources and contact information for the Career Center. Again, Handshake. You would go on there to connect with your career advisor. Like I mentioned, every college, every major has their own college, and every college has their own career center. So if you're a psychology major, you would look at the College for Humanities and Social Science. They have their own advisors, and that's who you would be with. Um, any disability services for needed like accommodations, you would reach out to the DRC, the Disability Resource Center. If you have any questions about, on-campus employment, if you need any accommodations for on-campus employment, they'll also be able to help you out with those. IT, if you have any issues with, say, like Workday, once you get your job, anything like that, they'll be able to help you. HR for questions regarding policies, onboarding, and payroll. Federal work study, that would be, if you have any questions about eligibility or whether you are whether you still have funding, that would be the email and the phone number. And then my office is Experiential Education and Career Connections. If you have any questions about internships, experiential learning, that is our main email. If you have any issues with Handshake logging in, that's also the email that you would contact, and our phone number. Any questions? I know there were a lot during the presentation, so I think they should be mostly answered.
All right. Perfect.
Okay. All right, and that's it. Thank you, everyone. I hope it was helpful.
Let's give a big thank you to Crystal and Jai for their presentation today. Thank you very much. So now I'm going to share a few reminder slides if there aren't any more questions. So feel free to connect with us. The Office of Student Belonging also does orientation programs. So feel free to check your email. You can check your email for new student news, our summer newsletter, filled with exciting updates, important information for new students. We also have upcoming Spanish webinars for our Spanish-speaking families. We have La Bienvenida on Thursday, July 2nd from 10 to 11 a.m. If you need any in-person orientation support, we're here at Red Hawk Central every Thursday from 11:30 to 1:30 until July 9th. And feel free to follow us on Instagram, or if you have any more information or any more questions on regarding orientation, feel free to reach out through our email, our phone, or our live chat. We promise it's not AI, we're behind the screen, we're here and to help you. All right. You can finish off with just answering a few questions, and then we'll end our webinar.
So work study is not a program that you just have to apply for. We will review the application along with the other parameters to see if your daughter qualifies for federal work study, and then it will be on the campus financial plan. As I stated earlier, all students have not been packaged. We are working through that now. So I will say give it till about July 1st, and 99% of our students should be packaged with financial aid, with campus work study if they are eligible.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for attending this webinar today. We hope this was valuable information for you, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.